very frequently, but we want to break it down for you. So, for example, you hear numbers like a 4, a 5, and a 6. What you want to do is multiply that number by 10 to get your percentage chance. So let's say, for example, today we have a 6 out there. What that means is you have a 60% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius of the area that we've given you. So let's say it's New Orleans. It would be a 60% chance within a 50-mile radius of the city of New Orleans. But Chris, you know, there's a lot that factors into this, not just the Torcon number. Where the worst of it is happening as we speak. Right now you can see we've got some very heavy rain right here along I-10 just to the east of Houston. Even some lightning that's kind of surrounding that area as it heads up towards Beaumont. Galveston, again, you've got a nice cluster here just now starting to make its way offshore. But again, quite a considerable amount of lightning with that series of storms. The wider shot shows you that, again, some of the most intense and heavy rain still over the Texas area, but it is making its way towards the east. Places like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, but we also have some convection that's starting to build farther east thanks to all of that warm, moist air that's coming up from the Gulf. So here's a look at the future radar going forward. Here's what we look at about 10 o'clock in the morning. We've got some showers and thunderstorms already that we did see on the radar continuing to develop over Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. But here, this is where we start to notice around lunchtime, Little Rock. Then as we start to go down towards New Orleans, you start to pick up some of those heavier showers around lunchtime. As we go into the late afternoon, your evening commute tonight, not really going to be an easy one for folks in New Orleans, Jackson, or Little Rock, likely not even for Memphis either. Then as we get later on into the evening, now we start to see some of the heavier showers scroll into portions of Nashville, also into around Birmingham, especially after, say, 10 o'clock tonight. The worst threat is going to be overnight for a lot of these cities, and that's the worst timing that you can have because you're not necessarily aware of your surroundings, aware of what's going on, because let's face it, sleep is a hard commodity to come by. You want to get it, but you do want to make sure you have your weather radio, your apps ready to go during the overnight hours in case something does happen. Here's a look at the breakdown for Houston. Houston's threat is really going to be mostly in the first half of the day and really should wrap up by the time we get to the evening rush. So once you get into the evening hours, it's not a nighttime or an overnight threat for folks in Houston. Looking at Jackson, Mississippi, it is a different story. Your threat really doesn't begin for severe weather until we get to the mid to late afternoon. Really kind of peaks around your evening rush hour and just a little bit after that. And then finally, hopefully those folks, Chris, can kind of get a break once we get to around midnight tonight going forward.
Panhandle.
So now let's move on to tonight's timing and let's take a look at what we have. So we'll start it off around 8 o'clock this evening. Again, you can see it's already raining for portions of Atlanta, Birmingham, Mobile, and up around the Memphis area. As we progress this, again, notice the low. It begins to lift a little farther off to the northeast because that will be its end track. It's going to end up into portions of the northeast. When it does, now we're going to start to see the shift towards Nashville, Birmingham being at the center of probably a lot of their severe weather. Then it shifts to Montgomery, Atlanta, then around Chattanooga, and eventually into places like Knoxville. This is going to be your overnight threat, folks. So again, if you live in Knoxville, Chattanooga, Atlanta, Montgomery, Tallahassee, even around Macon, it's going to be peaking during your overnight hours. The same argument could be said for around the Greenville, Spartanburg area for the severe outlook. And again, for Atlanta, really your peak time is going to be about 10 o'clock, Chris, through the overnight. We can't forget about the northeast, even though the severe threat really won't be there, Chris. We do have some more impacts that will be taking place. Here we look at what we have winter-wise. We have a winter weather advisory for portions of the northeast and a winter storm watch for regions of Michigan down towards Indiana and also into Illinois. Now, the first bit of winter is going to pop through the northeast today. Then it will start to transition back over into rain before the next round of snow begins to push in. Overall, in total, by the time this whole system ends on Friday, we're looking at widespread about 1 to 3 inches in a lot of these spots. But notice again, in northern Maine, could see as much as 5 to 8 inches around Buffalo, Cleveland, even around Erie, Pennsylvania, possibly about 3 to 5 inches of snow. Then as we transition into the Midwest, especially states like Michigan, where pretty much 90 to 100% of the precipitation you are going to get is going to be in the form of snow. Naturally, you're going to have some of those higher totals. So a lot of these spots, we're talking 8 to 12, but a couple of pockets right there along the lake could see maybe 12, even 18 inches of snow before it is all said and done. But a little bit farther south, cities like Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and around Lexington, most likely still around that 1 to 3 inch range. We still have a lot of the necessary ingredients. So you notice the same low, all of the necessary ingredients that are setting up our severe weather for the south are still also helping to develop what we need for the winter side of this. Again, we've got the warm, moist air sliding up along the eastern edge of this. But once the system slides to the northeast, the low pressure that is, we get all of that colder air pulling in from behind. So for a lot of those folks that were dealing with such beautiful conditions over the past weekend, it's certainly going to change as we get into the next couple of days, Chris.
Yeah, change in a big way, indeed. Right now,